Joining me now, Tulsi Gabbard, former Hawaii Congresswoman, 2020 presidential candidate, and Fox News contributor. Hello, Tulsi. Welcome.
Hi, Kaylee. Thank you.
You know, it seems as if the little guy, if you will, always is responsible for the big guy. The big guy always gets the preferential treatment, whether it's bailing out a Chinese investor, whether it's the community banks paying in special assessments that bail out Silicon Valley. Why is that?
There's this revolving door, and Kaylee, I know you're very, very familiar with, where constantly we see how, for example, members of Congress who are supposed to be regulating big pharma don't, and then they go and leave Congress and get a big payout from big pharma. We see it with the military-industrial complex. Secretary Austin, then General Austin, retires from the military, goes and works for Raytheon, now goes back as a Secretary of Defense, and seeing the billions of dollars that is going towards the military-industrial complex. We see that with these financial regulators, people who are in positions to actually do their job to protect the little guy, to protect our small and community banks. But instead, what are they doing? They're looking for that payout where they can go and work for the big banks that they are allowing off the hook. It's this incredible abuse of power that voids that trust that you're talking about here. And it's frankly, this is the thing that needs to be fixed. I look back to the Declaration of Independence, where our founders very correctly recognized the propensity for abuse of power for those who start to get some. And so they told us, hey, those in power derive their power from the consent of the governed. And that's where, as we look at how do we fix this mess, where is there any hope to be found? Through the consent of the governed. That means every one of us has this incredible responsibility to oversee those who we place in power, to hold them accountable when they are abusing those positions, and elect those who truly take that responsibility seriously of serving the American people, upholding the Constitution, putting the interests of the American people first.
So speaking of, you say consent of the governed, they don't seem to have much consent at the moment. We have the numbers. We'll pop it up for you. The level of trust in institutions is remarkably low. U.S. government, GOP has 35% trust, Democrats 63%, Congress 40%, Republicans 54%, Democrats. As you can see, there's definitely falling trust among Republicans specifically, but even, Wall Street, Democrats 46%. There's just distrust broadly.
Yeah, there is. For me, I think one of the only institutions that I think we can trust right now is the Supreme Court, serving as a check on a lot of this abuse of power. But ultimately, what it comes down to, the only one that we can really trust is God. And once again, our founders really recognize this and put these systems in place specifically for we the people to ensure that this country belongs to us and that we do have the opportunity and that responsibility to ensure that our government is of, by, and for the people. So all this erosion of trust that you're seeing in those numbers that you just cited, that comes from the fact that we have far too many corrupt politicians, far too many corrupt unelected bureaucrats who we don't know what their names are, but they are operating behind, in the dark, behind the curtains, in the shadows, essentially changing laws and making decisions that affect us in our everyday lives for their own benefit. And we have no way to hold them accountable. So we do this by taking action through those who we choose to hire and fire through this system that our founders created for us, which is still the best system in the world.
I couldn't agree more with you, especially when it comes to God. Just a few moments here, but it's ironic to me that God, someone you can trust, is who is being run out of society. We know he was an integral part of our founding, mentioned in many of our founding documents. Separation of church and state found nowhere in our founding documents. However, it's been utilized to create a religion of secularism. Do you think it's doing damage, the fact that we are erasing broadly God out of a society in a way perhaps our founders never intended?
There's no question about it, Kaylee. You see this erosion of this spiritual foundation of our country as a direct consequence of those who are trying to erase God from just about every facet of our public lives. This is one of the main reasons why I chose to leave the Democratic Party, because I saw increasingly how not only were they trying to erase God from or any mention of God, or attacking people of faith, attacking people of spirituality, especially Christians. You see these attacks and you see the consequences in the direction, unfortunately, that much of our country is headed in, and the damage it's causing to families, to children, to our communities. to our policymakers, many of whom think that they are God and are trying to control us in every possible way.
It's so true. Tulsi, so much wisdom from you always. Have a great St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you so much.